This is a piece of modular terrain for my skirmish game, Spire Seas, which I got all decorated and painted during my first ever hobby live stream. But today, instead of talking about the terrain itself, I'd like to quickly go over some updates to the rules that I made to make setting up for your game much more interesting. Now, this is supposed to be a short update video, but I would like to quickly say thank you to everyone who watched my live stream, especially the people who were able to catch it live and give me some comments and suggestions and encouragement. I really appreciate it. This weekend, I'll be doing my second live stream, mostly focused on building a new faction for my game. Mostly a little bit of concept art and brainstorming, and maybe, if we're lucky and have time, a little bit of sculpting. So feel free to stop by if you have some suggestions or just want to hang out. Anyway, back to the rules. If you don't know, the rules for Spire Seas, which are free on my website, are still in development. And every few months or so, I go back in and update things based on the playtesting and feedback I've gotten. This time, the biggest change to the rules was adding mechanics for how to use these during the setup phase. But I also made a few other little tweaks and adjustments. So let me go over those really quickly, and then we'll move on to the main bit. First, I did a little bit of basic cleanup, fixing some grammar errors and adjusting the format, plus tweaking some of the numbers here and there, like the grenade, which was a little too powerful. Fun, but mostly for one person. You know who you are. The next change was a bit bigger. I decided to add a whole new mechanic into the crew phase of the game. Activating a model in Spire Seas is done by playing a card from your hand, but once you start running out of models, there are a limited number of things you can actually do with these. So, to add a little bit of rubber banding and just more options, I made a mechanic where you can replace the result of a flip with a more powerful card from your hand. This means that players who are falling behind still have something to do with their cards, and it means that if you really need one action to succeed, you might be able to just force it, but at the cost of activating a model. This is a pretty big change, and I'm pretty positive about it, but let me know if you have any comments or feedback. I also made a change to the crew building rules. Now, crews are made up of only a captain and their deckhands. However, you'll have more points to spend on improving the stats of each model, meaning that actions in general should be more likely to succeed, and you have a little more room to customize each character. Now, these are just a few minor changes made in response to playtesting, but what I'm really excited about today is terrain. So let's talk about the new mechanics on how to set up your board. Since moving around the terrain in Spire Seas is such an integral part of the game, I felt it was kind of necessary to clarify what kind of terrain you should be using. And though you could use basically anything, you have to contend with the movement rules, which are kind of specific. So this terrain was designed to give you a little bit of variety in how you actually build each spire, while making sure that everything fits within the rules. But there is a possibility that players will build a spire that is just not very fun or imbalanced. So, to solve that problem, I created a basic little optional rule set that kind of gamifies the setup in the first place. This should push the general form of the spire into a more balanced structure and make sure that everyone is more or less happy with the results. Here's how it works. Before starting the game, players should decide whether they want a 3 or 4-story spire. The higher the spire is, the longer the game is likely to go, but you might need to use more blocks to get there. Then, players take turns placing blocks, one at a time, starting in the middle of the board. Each block, after the first, must line up with one that is already on the board. And to go up a level, you must put it on at least 2 other blocks. This ensures that models always have some path up to a higher level. However, to keep the spire from just blobbing outwards, players aren't allowed to place more than 4 blocks side by side or 3 blocks end to end. Or, I suppose, though I just thought of it now and haven't put it in the rules yet, more than 2 blocks end to end plus 1 block on its side. Or 2 blocks side by side plus 1 block on its end. I think that makes sense. Once that final story is reached, or all the blocks are used up, the process ends, and you can place your little salvage marker on the very top block. Then, finally, the game proceeds as normal. Of course, this is just an optional rule, so if you want to use books or boxes or whatever you have on hand, then please feel free. Or, if, like me, you enjoy the process of hand-making custom terrain, then that's also great, and I plan on continuing to do so. In the end, it's just a fun little addition to the rules, but I am really excited to try it out, especially once I have a full set of painted Spire blocks. And, of course, if you'd like to get your own set of Spire blocks, you can find the STLs for these over on myminifactory.com, along with the rest of my miniatures. These come both supported and unsupported, but keep in mind the supported version is designed for resin 3D printers. So if you're using an FDM printer and would like to give these a try, then I can't really help you test out the supports. That said, if you want to see if it'll work on an FDM printer and don't mind sharing some feedback, then let me know over on my Discord channel, Diluvian Chronicles, and I might be able to send you some files to test out. I'm really curious to see how FDM compares to resin, especially on these big, flat pieces. It might be worth investing in my own. Plus, of course, if you have any comments or feedback on the rules themselves, then please let me know over on that same Discord channel. Anyway, that's it for today. This is supposed to be just a quick update. But if you are interested in seeing how I designed these blocks, or how I painted this one in particular, you can check that out right over here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.